massive now, guys. It is really big,
God.
and it's northeast.
Should we go to that with
Like
them?
back towards Fort Allen.
We better go there with them, Dad.
People look on in horror at a tornado that damaged or destroyed a quarter of the homes in Cordell, Oklahoma yesterday. There were some injuries, but amazingly, no one was killed. At least 10 tornadoes reported last night in Oklahoma and Nebraska.
Tonight, a big chunk of land extending from western Texas to Arkansas is the hot spot for severe weather. Severe thunderstorm watches are posted, and we wouldn't be surprised to see some more tornadoes this evening. Good evening and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Nick Walker.
And I'm Kristina Abernathy. For the second night in a row, we have dangerous weather in the nation's heartland. Bolts of lightning have been zipping through the skies of Tulsa, Oklahoma today, so you've seen quite a light show. And how about that heavy rain? It was absolutely blinding at times. The good news is the worst of it appears to be over, but you could still see a thunderstorm or two this evening. And we are watching a cold front moving through the region, and with that, some very stormy weather indeed. Right now in Arkansas, Carroll County is under a tornado warning right now. We're also seeing a bit of wet weather into Louisiana, but right now our severe weather threat is a little farther north with that front. We have severe thunderstorm watches in Arkansas, Oklahoma, and back into Texas, so do watch out. Remember that severe thunderstorms, in addition to the damaging winds and the hail and the lightning and the heavy rain, which is also going to be a concern, severe thunderstorms can and sometimes do produce tornadoes, so we're going to be watching for that possibility as well. As I mentioned, very heavy rain locally. We could pick up 2 or 3 inches or more. Flash flood watches from Arkansas and Oklahoma back into northern Texas. Well, here's how the big picture looks, and plenty of stormy weather from Missouri back into Texas. We'll take a little closer view here, and you can see where we're noting these reds and yellows on the radar here at northwestern Arkansas, back into southern Oklahoma, into northern Texas. That's where some of the more intense activity is occurring right now. And as I mentioned, in Carroll County here in Arkansas, a tornado warning is in effect. Take cover immediately, get to the lowest floor of your home in a small interior room that doesn't have windows. You need to act fast, and also watch out in Arkansas, Logan, Scott, Madison, Franklin counties, all under severe thunderstorm warnings right now. So a very nasty looking line of storms from Fayetteville back down toward just east of Fort Smith. You need to definitely take cover here. More storms back into Oklahoma in the southeastern part of the state, most of it at the moment off to the south and east of Oklahoma City, but we are seeing more stormy weather into Texas right now. Shackelford County, you're under a severe thunderstorm warning. We'll be keeping a close eye on Abilene, Dallas, and Fort Worth, as well as points westward back toward Midland. This is where we're seeing the tail end of that precipitation right now. Well, as I mentioned, we're also seeing a little bit of wet weather elsewhere too. You've been dealing with some of that Gulf moisture flowing on in around New Orleans and Baton Rouge and up toward Monroe, Jackson. You could see some of the wet weather too. But what we're also seeing is some persistent southeasterly winds here around an area of high pressure, and that is piling the water up, and we have coastal flood warnings in effect from Pascagoula on westward into Louisiana. But those winds also affecting you here along the coast of Florida. Those persistent easterly winds really kicking up the surf, and from Flagler Beach southward to Ocean Reef, heavy surf advisories in effect, so not a good time to head out to the water. Rainfall, we'll be looking for plenty of that. It looks like the heaviest rain though, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and remember, locally several inches of rain and flooding are possible. Nick?
Let's move toward the north now, and it's in this area where last night we were seeing all the severe weather from Nebraska southward. The reds you see, this is where we had the tornadoes and a lot of reports of damaging winds and hail all the way down through the Kansas area. Well, today this has moved a little bit farther toward the east. We aren't getting the severe weather in this area around the Great Lakes or the Midwest. It's mostly down toward the south. But we are getting some very breezy conditions up toward northern Minnesota, some very cool temperatures as well. Let's take a look at where we are seeing the stormiest weather, and that's down here in the southwestern portion of Missouri, where we have warnings for Taney County and also here in southern Stone County as thunderstorms come up from Arkansas. You could see hail the size of baseballs from these thunderstorms, so be warned. Up towards St. Louis, it's just going to be maybe a stray thunderstorm or some rainy skies moving through your area. We will see some rain and some thunderstorms moving into the Chicago region. We've seen a few off and on showers, but right now it's dry for you, rainy up toward Milwaukee. Now, as we move toward Minneapolis, it's Well, fairly clear sailing here, although we did see some rain earlier. It's mostly up toward the north. The rain here will be fairly light, but it's going to be heavier here around Chicago, maybe as much as a half of an inch, and heavier still in the southern portions of Missouri. It's around this upper level low where we're seeing some very chilly air. Look at the temperature change from this time yesterday. Fargo, 16 degrees cooler than 24 hours ago. International Falls is cooler by 23 degrees, and even Chicago cooler by 8. Right now, it's only 63 degrees in Chicago, and back behind the cold front, we're at Minneapolis at 55, 48 degrees at International Falls. Look at these windy conditions. We've seen gusts exceeding 25 miles an hour, up to 30 miles an hour, and even some steady winds right now around Minneapolis at about 20, 25 miles an hour. So this is prompting wind chills down into the 30s at Minneapolis and Fargo, and even below freezing at International Falls. Well, this will continue to push eastward as we get toward the day tomorrow. Another shot of colder air and some showers with the front. We'll continue to see the east, though, with fairly mild temperatures with southerly winds around this area of high pressure into most of the northeast. A few clouds drifting by, but the temperatures very benign here with this offshore wind at Boston at 70 degrees. Philadelphia is at 69, New York City at 66. Warmer back into the 70s around Cleveland and Pittsburgh, but you will continue to see the threat of a bit more moisture here around Ohio. Cleveland and Detroit could see some through the day tomorrow. Now, let's check back toward the west. Kristina?
Well, we have seen an increase in the wet weather certainly here in the west. A system actually is approaching the coast, and out ahead of that some very windy conditions as well as some wet weather, even some higher elevation snow. A little quieter back into southern California and into Arizona, but plenty of clouds, and underneath these clouds plenty of wet weather affecting you in the northwest. So look out Seattle and Portland as well as over towards Spokane. And again, those higher elevations could indeed see some snow, and what we'll also be looking at some windy conditions. We do have some gale warnings in effect here in the Pacific Northwest. Snowfall, we'll see maybe 3 inches or so in some areas here through the Cascades. Temperatures a little on the cool side, 47 in Seattle, not so cool to the south, but it will cool down overnight, and freeze advisories are in effect here for parts of Arizona and into parts of Colorado. Nick?
Let's start off our forecast with a look at the Middle East, as we will continue to do so as long as there's military action here. Kabul, 61 degrees, a little warmer than what we saw today. That's your forecast for tomorrow. But some hazy sunshine, pretty much sunshine and warm temperatures throughout this area. Here in the United States, we will see warm temperatures holding on here in the northeast. Cool, though, underneath this area of high pressure back toward the west. The rain turning to showers in the northwest, and this front not moving as fast as the one toward the northwest. We'll continue to see this low slide northward on up toward the Great Lakes area, so more showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two for Chicago, up toward Cleveland and Detroit, and southward to the Gulf Coast as well. The heaviest rain will be right here tonight from northern Texas on up into Arkansas, rather. That's where we will see the possibility of some flash flooding. Kristina?
Storm Week returns to the Weather Channel in just a few days, but right now you can take a Storm Week poll on weather.com/stormweek. Do you include your pets in your hurricane evacuation plan? Be a part of the poll and see how others plan for hurricanes. Go to weather.com/stormweek, and don't forget to watch Storm Week on the Weather Channel beginning Monday, October 15th at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Well, we'll take a look at your forecast for the next 7 days just ahead.
That's on the Weekly Planner. Stay with us.